Myles Garrett's frustration is no longer subtle, it's explosive. In post-game comments and sideline body language, the Browns star defender has made it clear. He doesn't believe in the direction this team is going. And at the heart of his discontent is the offense. Specifically, a quarterback decision that's left Shedeur Sanders on the sidelines and Dillon Gabriel in over his head. As Garrett grows louder, the once private tension inside the locker room is boiling into public view.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Players feel betrayed, not just by the play calls, but by a system that hides truth to protect pride. Trust is breaking down on every level. From Stefanski's alleged deception about Sanders' injury to his unwillingness to adapt, leadership has turned rigid and toxic. Rees's quiet efforts to guide Sanders and repair morale now stand in stark contrast. The locker room sees it. The fans see it. This isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's the unraveling of a franchise caught between dysfunction and accountability. Let's be honest, the Cleveland Browns are on the edge of a full-scale collapse, and it's not because of injuries or tough opponents. It's because of something far worse, leadership failure. The kind of failure that infects every part of a franchise, from the coaching staff to the locker room, right down to the players warming the bench who shouldn't be. At the center of it all is head coach Kevin Stefanski. And what he's pulled with Shedeur Sanders has sparked a chain reaction the organization can't contain. Let's talk about it. Shedeur Sanders didn't just get benched, he got buried. Publicly labeled as injured by Stefanski, only to be seen warming up on the field like he was ready for kickoff. No limp, no hesitation, no tape job holding him together. Just a quarterback in form, fully dressed and fully ready. So why was he listed as injured? That's the question the whole league is quietly asking right now, and one that Tommy Rees isn't ignoring. Rees, the Browns' offensive coordinator, didn't take the bait. He didn't toe the company line. Instead, he took matters into his own hands. Behind closed doors, he's been training Shedeur himself, putting the work that Stefanski clearly isn't willing to do. That move alone sent a message louder than any press conference ever could. Because when the offensive coordinator is mentoring the benched quarterback while the head coach pretends he's too hurt to play, that's not just internal disagreement. That's a rebellion, a silent but steady resistance forming behind the scenes. And the players? They're watching every second of it. Let's not pretend this is all happening in a vacuum. Guys like Myles Garrett, faces of the franchise, have had enough. His frustration isn't subtle anymore. You can see it in the way he walks off the field, the tone of his voice in post-game interviews, the not-so-veiled jabs at the offense that's dragging the team down. He's not just disappointed in the scoreboard. He's disgusted by what's happening behind the scenes. And he's not alone. Because at this point, everyone in that building knows what's really going on. Dillon Gabriel is starting because Stefanski wants him to. Not because he's better. Not because he's producing. But because Stefanski has dug his heels in and refuses to budge. And that loyalty? It's not earning him respect. It's burning it. Week after week, Gabriel takes the field and underperforms. The offense sputters. Drives stall. Points disappear. And yet Stefanski stays the course like he's coaching in a video game, not real life. No adjustments. No accountability. Just more excuses. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is healthy, ready, and, thanks to Rees, prepared. He's in the playbook. He's running drills. He's staying locked in, even while being lied about to the public. And that right there is what's keeping hope alive in Cleveland. Because Rees is not letting the system swallow Shedeur whole. He's keeping him focused, sharp, and most importantly, ready. Rees isn't just filling a role. He's doing the job that Stefanski should be doing. Developing players. Protecting talent. Coaching for performance, not politics. That's what makes this situation so hard to ignore. Stefanski didn't just mismanage a quarterback decision. He manipulated it. Faking an injury to justify keeping Shedeur off the field crosses a serious line. It's not just a questionable call. It's a betrayal of trust. You don't lie about your players. You don't sabotage your own depth chart. And you definitely don't bury your best shot at saving the season because you're afraid to admit your starter isn't cutting it. This isn't a football problem. It's a culture problem. It's about leadership, transparency, accountability. And right now, the Browns have none of those things at the top. Stefanski is operating in denial. Everyone else is dealing with reality. And while the coaching staff plays internal tug-of-war, the locker room is teetering on collapse. Garrett's frustration is the visible tip of the iceberg. There are players in that locker room who've stopped believing in the system, stopped trusting the process, stopped buying in. That's how morale dies. Not in one dramatic explosion, but in slow erosion, one poor decision at a time. And at the center of that erosion is Stefanski's loyalty to Gabriel. It's not just bad strategy, it's a crisis of credibility. The stats don't lie. The performance is flat. The offense is anemic. But the worst part? There's no plan to fix it. No accountability. Just a stubborn refusal to admit that things aren't working. That refusal is sinking the season. And it's not just frustrating, it's dangerous. Because when your locker room doesn't believe your injury reports, doesn't trust your personnel decisions, and doesn't feel like the best, players are being put on the field to win, you've already lost. Which brings us back to Tommy Rees. Segment, he's not the head coach. Not officially. But in practice, he's leading. He's protecting the future of the team. He's training the guy who should already be starting. He's keeping players grounded while the guy above him throws the season off a cliff. And people are noticing. There are whispers now not just from fans, but from inside league circles, that Rees could be the one to take over. Maybe not today. Maybe not even this season. But soon. Because Stefanski's grip on the team is slipping. And everyone knows it. He's lost the locker room. He's lost the fans. And worst of all, he's lost the trust of his players. The deception around Shedeur was the last straw. And now the Browns are staring down a decision they can't put off much longer. Do they ride this out, clinging to a coach who's actively damaging the roster? Or do they make a change? One that sends a message that trust matters, performance matters, and players like Shedeur won't be benched for politics? It's a turning point. Master collection. One path leads to more chaos, more confusion, and a wasted season. The other leads to a potential reset. One guided by someone who's already proving he's up for the challenge. Tommy Rees hasn't asked for the spotlight. But he's earned it. He didn't stage a coup. He just did the work. And now, he might be the only one who can pull the Browns out of this mess. The season's still alive, but just barely. And if the people in charge don't act soon, they're going to watch it die from inside out. So what's next? Sanders, press conference. Does Stefanski finally bench Gabriel and give Shedeur the chance he's been preparing for? Does the front office step in before things get even worse? Or does this entire thing burn down while the rest of the league watches? Let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you're following this train wreck. And subscribe so you don't miss whatever wild twist is coming next. Because in Cleveland, this isn't just a quarterback controversy anymore. This is war. Let's not mince words. Kevin Stefanski's leadership is under siege. The trust is gone, the locker room is fractured, and the future of the franchise may hinge on one simple truth. The head coach lied. Not just about a play call or a depth chart tweak. He lied about an injury. Lied about Shedeur Sanders. And that lie is unraveling everything. Shedeur Sanders didn't just show up to practice questionable. He was fine. Moving well, throwing sharp, locked in. Everyone saw it. Everyone knows it. But Stefanski told the media, the team, and the world that Shedeur was too hurt to play. A tactical omission? Maybe. But in this context, it reeks of something else. Control. Suppression. Fear. Because here's what it really looks like. Stefanski didn't want Shedeur on that field. Not because of injury, but because it would prove him wrong. And if that's true, we're not talking about a coaching mistake anymore. We're talking about organizational sabotage. This is a team with playoff ambitions. This is a locker room full of talent, grit, and veterans who've waited years for a real shot. And now, Their season is hanging in the balance because their head coach is too stubborn or too scared to admit he made the wrong call at quarterback. That's not leadership. That's negligence. And inside the building, the silence is louder than ever. Myles Garrett's frustration has become the voice of a restless team. This isn't just post-game emotion anymore. He's choosing his words carefully, but the message is crystal clear. We need to be better. We have to ask the right questions. Everyone needs to be accountable. Translation: this staff isn't doing its job. Too, and Stefanski knows it. That's why he's clamping down. That's why Shedeur got injured. That's why no one's allowed to talk on the record. The control is slipping, and the only thing left is damage control. Except the damage is already done. The locker room knows the truth. So do the fans. And now, the entire NFL is watching a coach unravel under pressure, while the only person doing actual coaching is his own offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees didn't start this fire, but he's the only one trying to put it out. He saw Shedeur being sidelined for all the wrong reasons and decided he wasn't going to let the kid sink with the ship. He didn't call a press conference. He didn't grandstand. He just got to work. And while Stefanski was hiding behind phony injury reports, Rees was out there, training Shedeur, keeping him mentally locked in, and refusing to let politics kill potential. It's not a flashy rebellion. It's a quiet resistance. But make no mistake, it's real. And inside the facility, the divide is growing. Stefanski's circle is shrinking. His decisions are being questioned. His authority is no longer absolute. And in the cracks of that collapsing structure, Tommy Rees is rising. He's becoming the guy players look to, the one they trust, the one they know is still in this for the right reasons. Because in the NFL, trust is everything. And once you lose it, there's no coming back. That's where Stefanski is now. He's a head coach in title only. The command, the respect, the faith, it's evaporating by the day. The team's performance reflects it. The locker room energy reflects it. And the fans? They're done. The Browns are spiraling. And unless someone steps in, this season, this roster is going to be wasted. Let's not forget what's on the line here. This team isn't a rebuild. This is a playoff-capable squad with elite defensive talent, solid weapons, and the kind of QB pipeline most teams dream of. And it's all being torched because one man refuses to change course. Let's call it what it is. Stefanski's loyalty to Dillon Gabriel is dragging this franchise down. Gabriel's not a villain. He's just not the guy. He's inconsistent, struggles under pressure, and doesn't have the presence this team needs. The numbers back it up. The film backs it up. The players feel it. But week after week, Stefanski keeps sending him out there like nothing's wrong. Ignoring the frustration. Ignoring the opportunity. Ignoring Shedeur. And that stubbornness? That's how coaches lose teams. Forever. Meanwhile, Shedeur has stayed quiet. Professional. Patient. Which speaks volumes. He hasn't made noise. Hasn't lashed out. And that's because he knows someone believes in him. Someone is coaching him. Someone is getting him ready. Tommy Rees. And if you think players haven't noticed, you're kidding yourself. NFL locker rooms know who the real leaders are. They know who's showing up early, who's putting in extra time, who actually cares about their development. And right now, Rees is that guy, not Stefanski. And that's what makes this so damning. Because the Browns don't just have a quarterback problem or a coaching issue. They've got a credibility crisis. And that doesn't get fixed with a win. It gets fixed with action, with truth, with change. And let's be clear, if the front office doesn't act fast, they're going to lose a lot more than a few games. They're going to lose this locker room, for good. This is the kind of dysfunction that lingers, that infects the culture, that drives talent away, that breaks the belief that a team can be something special. The Browns have been here before. Years of instability, drama, talent squandered. This isn't new, but it should be over by now. Because right now they have the pieces. They have the people. And they could have the leadership if they just make the call. Tommy Rees isn't perfect, but he's the only one right now putting players before politics. The only one still working towards solutions instead of excuses. The only one with his focus on the field, not on protecting his image. And in the NFL, that's everything. Shedeur, this is the moment. Either the Browns pivot now, acknowledge what's broken, and elevate the people who are actually doing the work, or they let this entire thing fall apart. The question is, do they have the guts to do it? Because this team doesn't have time for politics. Not in this division. Not with this schedule. Not with veterans in their prime who are done waiting. They need clarity. They need direction. They need honesty. They need Shedeur on the field. And they need Rees in the driver's seat. So where does that leave us? A franchise at a breaking point. A locker room tired of being lied to. A talented young quarterback waiting for his shot. And an assistant coach proving, day by day, that real leadership doesn't need a title. Let's not pretend the Cleveland Browns haven't seen dark days before. But this is something else. This is a franchise imploding from the inside out, not because of bad luck, not because of injuries, but because of choices. Calculated, deliberate, destructive choices that are sabotaging their own future. And the most infuriating part? It was all avoidable. Sideline. Kevin Stefanski didn't just mishandle a quarterback situation. He weaponized it. He turned it into a political chess match, one where Shedeur Sanders became a pawn. Not because of his performance, not because he wasn't ready, but because Stefanski refused to admit he bet on the wrong quarterback. Let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders is not the problem here. If anything, he's the one bright spot still left untarnished in this mess. He's been doing everything right, staying focused, working behind the scenes, keeping his head down. And while he's being publicly sidelined with a fake injury narrative, he hasn't lashed out or thrown anyone under the bus. That kind of maturity, that kind of patience, it doesn't come easy, especially when the world knows you're ready, and your own coach won't even give you a shot. It's insulting. But it's also why people around the league are starting to turn their attention away from the head coach and toward the man quietly fixing things behind the curtain, Tommy Rees. Because while Stefanski has been spinning a PR cover-up about Shedeur's injury, Rees has been putting in the work. He's been training the very quarterback Stefanski refuses to acknowledge. He's been building trust where it's been broken. And most importantly, he's been preparing this team for a future that Stefanski seems determined to delay. Tommy Rees isn't a headline grabber. He's not the loudest voice in the room. But right now, he's the only one acting like a leader. And the players see it. Let's talk about Myles Garrett for a second, one of the most respected guys in the league. You don't have to read between the lines anymore. He's fed up. His body language during games, his icy post-game interviews, the exhaustion in his tone, it all screams the same message. This team is going nowhere unless something changes. Fast. And that message isn't just directed at the offense. It's directed at who's running the offense. Because here's what Garrett and every other vet in that locker room understands. This roster is good enough to compete. Right now. Not next season. Not in 2 years. Now. But instead of capitalizing on that momentum, they're being asked to pretend like everything's fine while the house burns down. The trust is gone. And that's the part that should scare the Browns' front office more than any loss on the stat sheet. Because in the NFL, when you lose the locker room, it doesn't just mean a few disgruntled players. It means long-term damage. Players start tuning out, checking out, and eventually walking out. Cleveland cannot afford that right now, especially when they have someone like Shedeur Sanders sitting on the bench, fully capable, fully prepped, and fully benched under false pretenses. It's insulting to him. It's disrespectful to the team. And it's flat-out reckless for the organization. Let's not forget what this says to every other player in that building. Do everything right, stay ready, show up. But if the head coach doesn't like how it looks, you're out. No explanation. No accountability. Just politics. That's the kind of culture that kills franchises. And the front office has a decision to make. Right now, do they continue backing a head coach who's clearly lost control of his team and who's allegedly lying about player health just to keep his own ego intact? Or do they recognize what's really happening? that Tommy Rees has quietly become the only functioning leader in that building. And start acting like it? Because whether they like it or not, the locker room is already shifting in that direction. Players respect Rees. They see the work. They feel the impact. And when you're on a team that's spiraling, you cling to the people who still feel like they're in control. Right now, that's not Stefanski. It's Rees. And that's not to say he's some kind of savior. He's not waving a magic wand. But what he is doing is refusing to let this team completely fall apart. He's coaching. He's mentoring. He's keeping Shedeur engaged. And when the time comes, he's going to have a quarterback who's ready to hit the ground running, because he made sure of it. Meanwhile, Stefanski is making decisions like someone who knows the writings on the wall. The fake injury report? That wasn't strategy. That was self-preservation. That was a coach trying to avoid accountability by shifting the narrative. It didn't work. The fans aren't stupid. The players definitely aren't. And now that the lie's out, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Stefanski's credibility is shot. And the season? It's slipping through their fingers. This is the moment where real franchises make real decisions. Because what happens next isn't just about the next few games. It's about whether or not this team still believes it has a future. Let's say they keep riding with Dylan Gabriel. What message does that send? That poor performance gets rewarded? That politics trump preparation? That leadership isn't about making the right call. It's about protecting the original one? That's not sustainable. That's how you lose a generation of talent. That's how you go from playoff contender to total rebuild in a matter of months. But if they hand the offense to Shedeur Sanders, if they acknowledge that Rees has kept him ready and finally give him the reins, they might just salvage this thing. Because Shedeur has the tools, the leadership, the poise, the locker room support, and most importantly, he has someone in his corner who's already built a foundation with him. Rees and Sanders could be the future of this team. Not because it's a feel-good story, but because it makes sense. Because it's earned. Because it's real. The clock is ticking. And the longer this team waits, the more irreversible the damage becomes. So what's it going to be? Do they double down on dysfunction? Or do they make the bold call, the necessary call, and start building towards something that actually has a chance? Right now, everything is teetering. The locker room, the fan base, the season. One more bad decision, and it's not just a wasted year. It's a wasted opportunity that might not come back. Shedeur's ready. Rees has proven it. Stefanski's lost the plot. And the Browns are running out of time. So what do you think? Are we watching the end of the Stefanski era? Is Shedeur finally going to get his shot? Is Tommy Rees the one who's been keeping this team alive behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're tracking every twist of this mess like we are, and make sure to subscribe. Because in Cleveland right now, the drama's just getting started.